Well, I wasn't planning on going exactly live at this second, but guess what? I clicked live before I should have. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead right now before I start the stream and let's see, do a I was going to go, hey, Celine, I was going to go ahead and promote it on Twitter, but I have already gone past that screen. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit today about one of my least favorite bugaboos, traveling while disabled. So I decided to talk about this because the last time I flew, which was early January, I got caught in the United Airlines disability corral. And I have to talk about this because apparently this is how United handles, hey, Great Dane Mom. This is how United now handles disabilities in 3 different airports that I'm aware of. George Bush International in Houston, the big airport in Chicago's name escapes me, and the big one in Dallas. And it's pretty awful. Okay. Disability and flying has been a problem for a while. Hey, Carol. O'Hare, yeah. Yeah. And greetings back to you in Norway. O'Hare is the main Chicago airport? Yep, it is. So supposedly they're doing this at O'Hare, but I haven't flown through O'Hare in a while, so I can't really say for sure. But I was told it was O'Hare. It was the big airport in Dallas Fort Worth International, and the one in Houston. And I got to experience it for the first time in Houston. The problem with flying and you're disabled has become more challenging since COVID. Now, I didn't take a wheelchair pre-COVID at all because I still was walking pretty well. That was before the Valmy stroke 2 years ago. In fact, almost 2 years ago, right now, like 2 years and a month. So when I first flew was exactly 2 years ago, too. I flew out to New Orleans because they were making me get out. Hey, Moonchild. And I hate taking a wheelchair. I'm just going to tell you right now. I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. Fly through Kansas City. Our new airport is open. And I mean new in the past month. Don't fly Southwest. They are on the delay and cancel it. Yeah, they are. They are. And I was watching a couple of my favorite pilots this morning. Mentor Now especially was talking about this. He was talking about the different types of notices they get they have to read through, and they have all these pages worth. It's the same thing that the boats have always gotten, the notices about what to be aware of, and they call it a very similar to what they do with maritime, and it bogs airlines down, and pilots make stupid mistakes and almost land on top of each other because of this outdated system. So there's that too, adding to all this. So post COVID, there were a lot fewer wheelchairs, is what I was told. My husband's been trying to get home from San Antonio since Friday. You only live in Oklahoma. Oh my goodness, Tamara. I can believe that. I have been canceled before on various flights. And usually I'm just like, whatever, I'll just stay an extra day. And usually we'll do that. So when COVID first lifted and I started flying and taking a wheelchair for the first time, I got to see a lot. The first time it was fine. There was plenty of people hauling me from point A to point B. I tipped profusely, I thanked profusely, and went on my merry way. If you fly Southwest, send them a nasty email. And they do send you credit, but it means you have to fly them again. Carol, most of the airlines will do that. American, I had a horrible experience on them. Oh, about a year ago, I'd say. They just really dropped the ball, and I was the only person that needed a wheelchair on my flight. There were 5 people that needed wheelchairs, but I was the only one that was ambulatory. So when there was no wheelchairs waiting for us, they were trying to reboard the plane. They said, look, you can walk to the best. It's 2 gates from here. Walk down and ask them what the hell they're doing over there. So I did. I walked down to the guy and said, "Hey, what's going on here? There's a lot of people waiting at gate blah blah, you know." And he cussed me out and said, "You're walking. You don't need a wheelchair." I says, "I'm not walking well. I may fall down on this slippery floor," because that's the issue for me at the airport. They keep the floor so highly polished, and if you have balance issues, you can really screw with you. You can fall down easy. So I sent American a nasty email and explained, well, not a nasty one. I just explained everything that happened and said, look, this was a huge disappointment. And they sent me a credit. Delta sent me a credit the one time they screwed up my accommodations. But then you get United. Okay. United does a little bit differently in Houston, Dallas, and Chicago. Instead of pushing you from gate to gate, which is what you would traditionally experience if you're flying from a major airport to one of the more minor ones, you're picking up one of those regional routes that used to be run by Continental. Don't get me started on Continental. I used to fly them to Baton Rouge every time, and it was like it was a cluster every time I did it. I went to visit family in Michigan and figure I will have to drive the 11 hours. Sometimes I think that's smarter. So this last time I took United because United took over Continental's little hops. And I was flying into Baton Rouge, and there aren't a lot of options. So I took this plane, and they got me to Houston. And the wheelchair guy pushed me only so far before he handed me off to somebody else who only pushed me so far. And then I think I got handed off like 3 or 4 times. So if I'm tipping, this becomes then the problem of who do I give the 20 to? And they pushed me into this, I called it the United Corral. It's actually a space that is sectioned off for the disabled, and they push you there in your wheelchair, and then they tell you to sit in one of the chairs in this area. There's just a problem. You're not really near the gate. You're not really near food or anything. You're not really near a restroom. So it's problematic. And so I had my husband with me, and so he ran around and got me food and everything. And then we were looking at, we didn't have a long layover. We're looking at our watches going, what is going on here? What is going on here? What is going on here? Well, just about the time I knew they were loading my flight, I was still waiting, and I had observed everybody else waiting and crying the blues and missing their flights and stuff because nobody was on the ball. There was a lady that was running the disability corral that was prioritizing people that were tipping her. That was it. So I got up and was like, heck no, I'm walking. And I didn't walk, I ran. I ran as fast as I could to get to my gate. And I got there just as they were beginning to board. And as I've said, well, Moonchild Pink, I don't want to call you Moon Pie. Spirit is not so bad. I've flown Spirit. If Spirit flew out of Liberia, I would fly them. I used to fly them when I would fly out of San Jose. So I ran up there just as they were starting to pre-board. And of course I pre-boarded because it takes me more than a hot second to get my CPAP machine, my nebulizer, and sometimes my oxygen tank, oxygen concentrator. It takes me a while to get on there if I'm toting everything. And I don't want to delay anybody else behind me. Okay. I just don't. That's why I board first. I want to be sure that I'm in my little window seat and I'm not getting up. Hey, Grace Peters, I don't really want to hold anybody else up. So I get on the plane first with a couple other disabled people, and they started boarding people immediately after us who were griping and bitching and moaning because we were taking up time getting settled. And I'm starting to get the shakes and anxiety shakes that I get sometimes that are stupid because my mother raised me that you don't inconvenience anybody. So I believe that. I live my life by that. And it has created some problems for me in my life. This is something I wasn't even aware that I was doing until the last year. And I'm starting embracing being more selfish as a result. So I got on the plane. Like I said, I almost missed it. The people who were waiting to be boarded via being pushed on the wheelchairs almost missed a plane. Okay, several of them missed, several of them got on, and everybody was just able to walk like I did, made it just fine. So, United, that's not a way to do it. If you don't want to hold up the wheelchairs, fine. Put us all there, sitting there at the gate, and we'll be fine. But do not abandon us to the mercy of that silly woman running the disability corral. And it was kind of funny because on the way back, I told my husband, I said, I am walking at the Houston airport because I know what a cluster, what this was going to be. I didn't realize you had to have those machines right by you. Do you always suffer from asthma? Moonchild, it comes, it goes. Yesterday, I had side effect of mast cell that didn't involve breathing at all. I woke up, my nose was bleeding, okay, and it bled off and on all day. I started freaking out. I finally went to the doctor and found out that I apparently was having a histamine attack, which is part of the asthma and everything else. And as a result, my platelets were low. Now, I knew I'd had problems with platelets in the past. I always have. Apparently, it's my mast cell doing it. So I just, they offered to write me a prescription that would help build the platelets, but I'm just like, no, I know what to do. So I went back on the platelet diet and the right supplement. So it'll lift in a day or two. And it's also caused by the fact that it's dry season here. And when it gets really dry, you'll be bleeding from up in here sometimes. And if you have low platelets, it'll lose all day. So that was another reason why I would have had, things with me, why I bring stuff with me, even though I may not be using it. And I used to put it in my suitcase until my suitcase disappeared one time. And I had to wait for a day for it to be found. I've learned don't do that. So I take advantage of what the airlines do. If you have machinery like that, you bring your letter of medical necessity with you. And if they give you any crap at all, you whip it out and say, hey, I got this thing. So they can't count that towards your carry-ons. If you have 6 of those things, you can carry all 6 of them on and your carry-on and your purse. But I try not to do that. I try not to bring all of those. I many times will stick the neb in the suitcase. And I usually won't bring the oxygen concentrator because it's just such a hassle dealing with all those bags. And I don't use oxygen all the time. It's actually kind of rare now. So I'm all before that. Yes, dry season is difficult for many things. My skin aged from being in Colorado. I can understand that. I tell everybody, coconut oil is your friend if you live here. If you live here during dry season, you're going to be going through lots of coconut oil or something like this, or try to grab the big guns. This body butter. I love this stuff. This is my favorite. And it's made with coconut oil. And sometimes I just use straight up coconut oil. So all of that plays into that. But at the same time, I wrote United an email and said, look, that whole disability corral thing is for the birds. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Moonchild Paul, Moonchild Pink. I'm only on it because 3 years ago, my daughter was here and I started breaking out all over my body and horrible itchy rash. And I found out it was asthmatic dermatitis related to the mast cell. So since then, now I got moisturize up here. I went and got the saline that's under pressure to go up in my sinuses. And I have petroleum jelly to stick up my nose. It's kind of silly, but you got to do what you got to do. But the thing with the airlines now is it's just utterly ridiculous. I think what I'm going to do is I ordered a garden wagon so I can push it. Because I'm one of these people, I stay perfectly stable if I'm using a shopping cart. I can shop all day. But where are you going to get a shopping cart? And so I'm going to do a gardening cart for here so I can go walk the roads and build up a little muscle tone again. And the next time I go to the States, I'm going to get a three-wheeled walker, one that is strictly for balance because I'm not leaning on it with my weight because using my legs is not the problem. It's my balance is the issue, which is why a couple of weeks ago I had a security guard who didn't know me very well at the Auto Mercado here that tried to take my shopping cart away from me as I was going out to my car, and I went down like a bowling pin because my cane was on the cart. He pulled the cart away from me, and I just was like unbalanced, boom. So it's interesting. A lot of people ask me about being disabled and visiting Costa Rica. So I have to tell them Costa Rica is not really great about disabled anything. They take their laws from the disability laws of the United States and the Americans with Disability Act. They take their laws from that. So there is that. But so many times I've seen them make an effort and was like, an effort was made, but it wasn't good enough. I was telling everybody the other day about the day where I fell down. It was a kind of a crazy ass disability day. I started having stomach problems and had to use the restroom at this place. And this place is odd. I like it because of this shopping mall. There's a disability bathroom. It's not actually a restroom. There's not actually a disability stall, which I like that because this place, the floor is shiny, polished stone. Looks about like an airport floor, so it's a problem. And all of the stalls are shiny glass. So if you had to use one of those things, you would really it would be difficult if you had balance issues. So I was going to use the disability restroom. I got within about 5 feet of it, and this 14-year-old boy just darted in front of me and grabbed it. And I was kind of shocked because most of the time people won't do that here, especially if they see you with your cane. Before I started using the cane, people would routinely try to cut in front of me in line and stuff for various things. But most people here are decent enough people where they're not going to do that. Most Ticos are really wonderful people, and they try to just really bend over backwards for people. And I really like that. Moonchild, it is what it is. And I try not to fall. I usually don't. 2 weeks ago, I had a bad fall in the parking lot of a place, and it was the silliest thing ever. I went to get in the car, and I got one leg in, almost in, and then my good leg, my knee locked. He locked, and it never happens once in a blue moon. It just happened as I shifted all my weight on my right leg that's not affected by any of this. The knee locked, and then it went out, and down I went. And I was doing the moonwalk backwards, trying to regain my balance because sometimes that works, and it didn't. I fell pretty hard, pretty hard, pretty hard. And it was embarrassing because I was at the busiest intersection in the whole Wacas and Tamarindo area, laying flat on my back where people could have been rolling their cars. I'm happy that I didn't get run over. They have all-terrain walkers and also beach walkers. Yes, I've seen those, Laura, and that's what I'm going to have to buy the next time I go to the States. I'm not buying it here because the import fees from Amazon would be ridiculous. I already looked, import fees and taxes. They're about $200. And being that it's a medical thing, I'm not sure they let it through. They don't allow you to import medicine, anything healthcare related. They don't let you to import any of that. They also don't let you import any personal care item like makeup or shampoo or anything like that. And they don't let you import food. Unless it's in your suitcase, you can import all three of those things, no problem. Hey, greenworm. So you have to really be smart about it here. And the only walkers that are available are the old clunky ones that are used by people who need not just the balance, they need the actual help of being able to put their weight on something. But the two front legs are just straight up hit the ground, and the two back wheels are wheels. So for me, that would not work. It would not work well. And I just have visions of myself like Aunt Edna from the vacation movies, clunking that thing around and going, when did you be so bad? I can just see myself doing that. I haven't seen the beach walkers. That's good to have. It would be. I actually have a wooden cane someone made me that I use at the beach only because my cane is metal and I don't want it to rust. So I use my nice hand carved wooden one there that one of my friends here made for me. I have to be able to walk the beach so that I can pick up things like sea hearts, hamburger beans, Jamaican walnuts here in the Pacific side. I was kind of surprised by all of that this week on a day when I was walking the beach and I was mad because everybody was violating all of the rules for a national park that is a turtle sanctuary. So I'm going to look into that. The other thing that I've thought about getting that I have a girlfriend that has are those, they're kind of like ski sticks. They're hiking sticks with the post at the bottom. I think that might be really cool for the beach. I wonder if it would be cheaper to buy the beach wheels and change it back and forth on a walker. That might actually work. I might have to do that. I'm excited for the garden cart, even though I had to pay pretty hefty shipping and import fee on it, because it has beach wheels on it, and you can take it to the beach. I can take it grocery shopping. I can walk down the road here that I can't do right now. And I'm reluctant to use a walker to do that because I don't want to paste on my forehead, disabled gringo you can rob. I don't want to paste that on my forehead. And, I try to be very low key here. There are a lot of gringos that come here and throw around money and jewelry and stuff, and they get robbed. They don't get injured, but people will take their stuff. And I'm not going to make myself a target. It's just not happening, even though I did threaten to get a cat stroller and put Pork in it to walk. I wonder if it would be cheaper to, yeah. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if I can change those wheels back and forth when I finally do get the walker, because I have a feeling this is what I really need to solve the balance problem everywhere. Because the cane is good, but the cane is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So, and this is the other nerve-wracking thing about the walker and flying. You can't bring your walker on the plane most of the time. Most of the planes are not set up to have any kind of storage on the inside that would let you bring that. But a lot of places, the airlines, what they do is they'll take it from you and tag it at the gate to go under the plane. And I was okay with that until I was sitting in my plane, loaded on first, watching them load suitcases and watching how they were treating. There was a 15-year-old kid. They had a walker because he had all kinds of problems. He had just had surgery on his leg, and I saw how they were treating his walker. It was like, I don't want to spend a couple of $100 to have them treat it like that. Trekking poles, yeah, that's what it is. Oh, yeah, I'll have to get one of those. I do have a Costco membership. I have a PriceSmart membership. They haven't shown up in PriceSmart yet, but I am hopeful. I've been doing yoga for about almost 2 weeks now, and it is helping with my balance quite a bit. So I may not even need all this stuff. My hubby and I went to the beach. You went to the beach? After watching your video, I told my husband we are 2 miles from the beach and haven't been in forever. Went and was beautiful. It's fun. Moonchild, I'm so happy. We're a mile and a half from here. If I just went straight out, mile and a half, I would hit the beach. If there wasn't swampland and national seashore kind of parks between us, I would be able to do that. They legally cannot deny you having a walker. Are you kidding? I didn't know that. I have a special order chair for my kiddo, and they store it in the closet. No, I don't have the one with the 3 feet. What I have is the metal one that you can take apart and fold up. And the reason I bought it is my wooden cane, my beautiful wooden cane that my darling friend made for me. People don't see it and they kick it. I can be walking somewhere, it's crowded, and people accidentally kick your cane. Since I've switched to the metal one that is bright pink with purple on it, nobody has kicked my cane. It's been almost non-existent. So there's a lot of things you have to really be conscious of and think through. I've discovered from being disabled. I have a walker with a seat There was storage under the seat. It was the best $62 I spent in years. I use the seat to transport items. I can sit down if I need to. Great Dane Mom, I was thinking about that. The one I'm looking at right now don't have a seat, but that doesn't mean I'm not open to get one of those. I've been doing my Chi local pool, great for balance in there, of course. YouTube videos for instruction. Oh, I have to try that. I used to do aqua yoga years and years ago. And I'm thinking about rewatching videos on that and starting that again because I can walk just fine in the pool. Like I said, the issue is the balance. It's the balance. And my goal is to walk well. My best friend Joni and I have been talking about this because she had a bad car accident over 4 months ago that broke her hip. It broke a lot of bones in her body, and she had a brain bleed. And her goal now is to get well enough to come visit me here again. And that's just my goal for her, but it's also my goal to be able to walk well enough so her and I can do whatever the hell we want. We can go wherever we want. So people ask me about being disabled here, and there are some things, like I said, an attempt was made, but it doesn't always go well. There is in Tamarindo 2 handicapped parking spaces at the beach. The sad thing is they're mostly full of motorcycles. People don't respect that. They just park there. There is a handicap bathroom, locked most of the time. There was a ramp going to a rubberized sidewalk put all the way out to the beach for handicapped. And that has been beat to hell in the last year. Now it is just torn up. It doesn't even work. It does have wheels with handbrakes. It opened up a world to me again. Great Day Mom, I'm going to have to get one of those then. I'm going to have to switch from the 3-wheel, maybe the 4-wheeled one with the seat. Moonchild Pig. Last summer, I did aqua yoga every day. It made a huge difference in my leg pain. I know yoga works. I did yoga from the time I was 16 until I was like about 28 after I married my husband and started having children. Once children entered the picture, my yoga time went bye-bye. And once we joined our Fundy Town church, and I was told I could not do yoga when we studied this stupid book. When we studied The Steps to Freedom in Christ from the book, what was the name of that stupid book? The Bondage Breaker by Neil T. Anderson. There is a section in here that deals with non-Christian spiritual inventory, and yoga is listed there. And you were told you must repent from your yoga. Well, I didn't actually do that because that day I went home, and all those years I did yoga from Lilios, Bolus Yoga and You from PBS. And I knew the one Lilios Yoga and I book that I had Lilios talking about her faith in Christ. And you were never chanting demon names like these ignoramuses I went to church trying to claim that I knew was a bunch of BS. It was bunk, bunk, bunk. And so recently I've rediscovered Lilios on YouTube, and she has excellent videos for senior yoga. I totally dislike flying on United unless we fly first or business class. They do not seem to be trained on ADA or FDA laws. No, they're not. I will say that. That's what I have learned from them. I've heard about yoga too. It's hard for me to understand. It's marshmallow. I think I'm just going to go ahead and block your ass because you're nothing but negative. Negative, negative, Nelly. But I'm going to get a screen cap first. Why? Because I absolutely love putting nut bars like you on Jerks for Jesus. And you fit there. So there's my screen cap. You're going to get. And I am definitely going to block you. Have fun. This is what I bought on Amazon. The Drive Medical four-wheel rollator with a fold-up removable back support. I'm gonna have to look at that. What's the channel name again for senior yoga? Lilias Folas. Lilas, last name Folas. She has several different really good. Is she a nonsense troll? That figures. That figures. Because nonsense hates me because I've called her out before. And since I don't do that anymore with anybody, not even Michelle, who I'm part horrified by and part feeling sorry for her. So there you go. I have never said anything negative about Molly Golightly. Let me get another screen cap. The only thing I said is she is not my cup of tea. So Molly can come for me, but unlike most people, I live my life pretty openly. And that is not a bad thing. I would recommend it. But now let's just block you yet again. Put user in timeout. Let's go into timeout, silly girl. Molly, I'm not even a fly on Molly's wall. And I want to keep it that way. I have nothing against Molly. I think some of the stuff she does is cringe inducing, but that's just my own personal level of comfort. I wouldn't do those things. But you have to understand, I was raised with the thing where you don't inconvenience anybody. You just go along to get along. And sometimes it gets me in trouble because I will ignore toxic behavior in other people until it becomes a problem for me, a horrible problem, or I'll get really mad over somebody acting badly. And it was like, why am I mad about this? This is on them. This is not me. This has nothing to do with me. So, Marshmallow, I have the wonderful. And I think I'm going to report you as well. That would be good because I have all the screen caps. Here we go. Harassment or bullying. Okay. I use her all the time on my channel. So that was the last for you. And so I was, where was I? I was talking about, but here's something they've done here in Costa Rica that I really like. They have put in supposedly a handicap beach north of here. And one day soon, I'm going to go there and visit just to see what it's like. I mean, I saw pictures of it. It looks heavenly. There's all kinds of different things they have where you could take a good sidewalk all the way down. So I'm excited by that. Not that I need it, but I would like to see it and talk about it on my channel and go from there. Yeah, and for her to say that I have a fake channel, I've been doing this for over 2 years, just about maybe 3, because because Pathos was pushing all of us that had blogs to either do a YouTube or a podcast or something. So I started doing the YouTube. Do you have miles and miles of beach near you? Yes, I absolutely do, Moonchild. And I was so pissed off on Thursday when I went and got these sea hearts because Las Balas National Parque is a turtle sanctuary. The big sea turtles come ashore and lay eggs and then they hatch. So there's actually a long list of rules for there. And I got there, everybody and their brother was just violating the hell out of them. I was like going into my, I was really mad. One of the beaches we've been in is in Poland. They make sure you could get to the water via walkway they put in. They also kept it maintained. I'm curious to see. I do collect sea beans. That's my big thing. I love sea beans. I used to collect shells, but my house came with a ton of shells and sand dollars and things as decorations. So I'm less enthused about that now. But the sea beans, that's a new thing. And These sea heart things, I've seen everybody and their brother on some of the lists I'm on collecting these in the US from the Florida beaches and the Texas beaches, but I have not seen any here. And let me tell you, I pick that sea rat clean some days. So there's that. So the other night when it was so many awful people, I actually found some really cool things up in the sea rack. And I was thinking, well, there's so many people here, I'll never find a thing. And my husband walked down to the big rock that divides Playa Grande from Las Ventanas, and he said there was nobody on the Las Ventanas beach. So next time, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to squeeze past the rock and go to the next beach over where there's nobody, so that I don't get myself angry and ranty. Sea beads. They're actually like this. This heart-shaped one is the seed of a palm. Okay, a certain kind of palm puts these seeds out, and I couldn't tell you what type it is right now. This is a new hobby for me. But they float for as long as 2 years, and you find them in all sorts of weird places, but they come from other nations. This thing is a Jamaican walnut that is only in the Caribbean. So it actually went to the West Coast where I am. I'm not seeing them. I'm on the East Coast of Florida, so no shells. Well, a lot of people in Florida collect them, but I think they are getting to the beaches that are less popular, is what I'm picking up on all of this, on the sea beans, because the more popular areas get picked over in a hurry. And that's something I've learned here. Except it seems to be a thing that as long as you have a lot of gringo tourists in an area, there are more sea beans because they're not looking for that. And the serious people like me are going to stay away when the beach is crowded. Now, I probably will not go out to the beach at all in the next week and a half. Why? Semana Santa. Today marks the beginning of the most insane week in Costa Rica, when we have hundreds of people flooding, thousands of people flooding in, and thousands of ticos from San Jose flooding our beach. I mean, they're renting out rooms with cots for $100 a night. Does the water shape their form? The west coast of Florida has many shells. I don't know. I don't know. I would have to check into that. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Cypress Port State Park. They have a beach. I realized the sand near where we walked was still smooth. Yeah, I really walked to get a walk short distance to the water. Yep. Yeah, it is. It can be hard. That's why I bring my cane, because when I first had this thalamic stroke, before I really realized what was going on and I started using the cane, my husband could tell you I fell down face first on the beach collecting shells and had one hell of a time getting up and in. And I don't want to have everybody pulling me up, because when they're tugging on me, it becomes a problem too. We spend a lot of time on the West Coast. I'll have to look for them on the Rocky Beaches. I understand they're prevalent on Rocky Beaches as well. I haven't found any up on Playa Langosta, but I haven't actually looked for them there either. But I also haven't walked down Langosta to where it's not so populated either. St. Mary Parish. That's interesting. Yeah, so that was really all I wanted to say. I want to talk about being disabled, flying, disability, everything. It's just, it's very difficult. And until you actually experience it, you can be going, okay, so what do I do now? What do I do now? And it can be a really pain in the butt. Okay, inlet of the Gulf of Mexico. Great Dane Bomb. I grew up in Louisiana, and the only beach I ever went to was Grand Isle. But I'm wishing I had a boat, because I would go to the beaches on all these little islands in the Gulf. They end up hurting more than helping. Yes, exactly. And I always tell people, it's like, please leave me be. If I can get my butt over to the car door and grab on the door with one hand and pull myself up pretty easily. But if everybody's tugging on me at the same time, it's like not happening. Not happening. It's just too difficult. for me to balance what other people are pulling on me. It becomes a problem. And I get that people want to help, but sometimes you're not helping, you're hurting. Okay, you guys, I am gonna go. You haven't flown since becoming handicapped? Well, it's a whole adventure. I'm just gonna say that. It is a whole adventure. Some airlines do it well, some airlines have just dropped the damn ball on it. And I'm not impressed with the way United does it. Moonchild, I was still healthy when I came here, or as healthy as a person could be with high blood pressure and mast cells. So when I got here, I had I had two strokes. I had a really tiny little what do they call it, TIA. And the only reason I knew I had it is I had white spots on my vision one day. So there was that one. And I got a 3-day stay in the hospital in San Jose for that, where they ran every test in the world and said, well, you don't have a lot of blockages anymore. You have a little bit of blockage here, but everything else is clear. And I was released to recover here and follow up with my local doctor. And no, I don't have an old video of that. I wish I did. And then later, I had the thalamic stroke, which was a lot more serious. And I think it's because I had gotten a new CPAP machine. And the tests they ran at UVA showed I only needed a small pressure. And I was like, that can't be. I've had a CPAP machine for well over 20 years, and I know what my pressure is. But no, your new pressure is what? So they sent me here with it, and it's not the pressure. I had a stroke, a thalamic stroke, and that's almost certain what happens because I have really low blood pressure during the day, but at night, apparently it spikes. And they discovered that, and I think I'm better now. The thing I did here, I'm reaching my blood pressure cuff. I got to take it after this. Is the reason, the thing I did afterwards was I looked up on YouTube how to reset your machine yourself, how to hack in there and do it. And I did that. I just went ahead and set it at the old pressure because I know that's the right pressure. No, they haven't admitted it. And it's the only sleep lab that I've gone to where they said, this is your pressure. The other places, when I got a low reading, I said, I don't think that's my pressure. I think that I had a night where I was sleeping better than others. So they retested me and found out it was not the right pressure. UVA refused to do that. They refused. They said, no, our lab is too busy. We're not retesting you without a doctor say so. So that's what happened. And I'm just going to say this: if you can avoid having a stroke, do it. If they tell you to take blood pressure meds, do it. Because the worst thing about this is there is a fatigue beyond fatigue for the first 6 months to a year after you have a stroke. You really struggle to have the same levels of energy. My first stroke, I sat in my rocking chair right here before I put my desk in and read. And that was it. I just sat there. I'd sit there for long periods every day. The thalamic stroke has been a little different. It's been up and down on the energy levels, but the yoga has even helped with that. So I'm better with my energy levels and balance. That can only be a positive thing. We get to know ourselves better than doctors. Same two people. Yeah. Moonchild, exactly. And I try to tell, well, my doctor, they're always wanting to test me for my diabetes. And I was like, I am stable on metformin, metformin. Let me show you my blood sugar meter, which shows my daily readings. So it's not really, and since I'm paying for every test out of pocket, I try to avoid that as much as possible here. So I'm going to talk one day about Costa Rican medical care because it is a world-class medical care here. It's good. It's just there's not as many specialists there, and to use a specialist, certain specialists are only in San Jose, certain ones are only in Liberia. I had several conversations with my neurologist in San Jose about getting back on a biologic. And he is like one of the few doctors that's allowed to prescribe and give you biologics. So I had to say, no, I had to get a little sicker before I even think about that. So yeah, know yourself, know your body. Oh, which one? I have like 3 of them. The one that I use the most to measure my blood sugars is my super cheap Walmart one. I love this one because the strips are only $5. And before, when I was testing with the other one, the strips that I had, my insurance company refused to pay for them. The strips were running me close to $200 because I was doing the one touch, the super light one. And no, they wouldn't pay for that. Even though I bleed copiously sometimes, even though I have a documented bleeding disorder kind of thing going on with the mast cell, they wouldn't pay for it. So I just said, fine. So that's what I mean by blood reading machine, to make sure that my blood sugar levels stay stable. Yeah, and when I go to the States, I just stock up and buy the strips and the little things. So being sick here in Costa Rica, you really just have to see what works for you. You have to write careful lists of what you need when you go to the States. Say, okay, well, I need 6 months worth of the strips. I need 6 months worth of the masks for my CPAP machine and other stuff. And you just write your list where you go to you buy it, you bring it back in your suitcase because you can't ship it in. Or if you know somebody's coming, like we have somebody coming in a couple of weeks, it's like, hey, I need to ship you some stuff from Amazon for you to bring for me. And it's usually OTC drugs that are outrageously priced here and other stuff. So that's how I do it. That's how I live with all that here. And it's the only way to fly. Okay, so I really going to go this time. I love you guys. Have a great day. Marshmallow, get another hobby.